This new Romantasy book, North is the Night by Emily Rath, honestly is a lot better than I expected it to be. Character, but is she growing for the better or for the worse? Oh, she's beautiful. I wish that she had a companion or somebody with her that she could kind of like talk to back and forth instead of just her talking to herself. I think her journey would have been more interesting, but there's something special about it. I thought this book was going to be spicy, yummy, yummy, and then not really that much. I think I have in the middle expectations for this book because I'm trying not to judge a book by its cover because this is so beautiful that last time I actually fell for a really pretty cover and the book turned out not to be my favorite. And I mean, there have definitely been books that have really pretty covers that I absolutely love, but because of my experiences in the past, I'm just trying to like not have super high expectations, even though the cover is the most gorgeous thing I've ever seen in my entire life, and I love it so much. So from my understanding, North is the Night is about two, I don't know if they're two best friends or two sisters, but basically one of them ends up being taken to the underworld, and so the other one starts kind of like this journey on trying to rescue her friend or her sister. I'm just gonna say friend. And she ends up like having to make a costly deal with, I don't know if it's with death or some other type of god in the world, but I think that sounds cool. And the only thing I know about this author is that she has written like hockey spicy stories before, so I imagine that this book will be really good and spicy. But honestly, the entire premise sounds so good and just like really up my alley. So romantasy, so fun, like gods, goddesses, creating a deal with somebody that you don't trust that you'll probably end up falling in love with kind of vibes. So yeah, it also is based a lot on like Finnish folklore, which I think is really cool because I don't really know too much about that kind of stuff. So I always love just like when people do incorporate different aspects of different cultures, and yeah, I'm just really excited about it. So without further ado, let's crack this book right open. But wait, we know the drill. This has a dust cover and I absolutely hate reading with these on, so I'm gonna take it off. And because this has such a beautiful like sprayed, like the sprayed edges are so beautiful, I am like 100% confident that there has to be a pretty design underneath, and I'm so excited. That's my favorite part of just like taking off the covers. So let's do it. We'll start it backwards, that way we can see like what it looks like together. Oh, it's like soft. Okay, I'm really excited. Oh, she's beautiful. Oh, she's gorgeous. Oh wow. Oh, look at this. Oh, I think this is actually the most gorgeous book that I own now. I don't care if this book doesn't end up being like good or anything. She's so beautiful. Oh, I love her so much. Oh, okay. Let's read this book for real now. So I'm a little bit more than 100 pages into North is the Night, and here are my thoughts so far. This book is more than just a beautiful book. Oh my goodness, I'm really happy. Honestly, like, I feel like I was really setting my expectations really low, which kind of worked out because I'm actually really enjoying this book. So we're basically following along two best friends, Siiri and Aina. There's a lot of Finnish kind of like gods and goddesses and a bit of like history that's been pulled and woven into this book, which I think is pretty cool. So at the beginning, there's kind of like a glossary about like what the gods and the goddesses are kind of like well known for, how the paganism part comes in, and as well as it has a lot of touches on Christianity. And so I think that that's really interesting because this is way before Finland became like more Christianized. And so we're kind of seeing like the little speckles of that. And so in the world, the characters, they think that their gods have abandoned them, or that some people are saying that those gods never even existed in the first place and there's only the one god. And so that's interesting to see because like the people who stop believing, it's kind of affecting the gods in a way and making them kind of like disappear. And so going back to our two main characters, so Siiri and Aina they were just kind of like hanging out doing their thing, which I don't know, like, if Siiri has, like, a crush on Anya or not. I was kind of getting that vibe, but, like, Anya doesn't seem to see her that way. I don't know. I guess we'll see as the story progresses. But basically, this kind of witchy person came out, and they have been stealing young women. And so they try to take Siiri, but then Anya's like, no, and, like, ends up getting taken instead. And so Siri's like, oh, no, like, I need to go save my friend. And then the people in her village are like, what do you mean? Like, she couldn't have been stolen by a god or a goddess because, like, they don't exist, right? Like, they're starting to move away from their old gods. And so Siiri, believing in that, she's like, okay, no, like, this is what happened and I'm gonna go save her. And so that's kind of her journey. Her journey is trying to figure out where her friend went and then finding somebody to guide her to get there, because the person who is supposed to get there, and there's no way I can pronounce any of these names, so I'm just gonna kind of talk about them as, like, who this character is. So there's basically this, I don't know if he's really a god or like a shaman or what makes the most sense for him, but basically he was somebody who the prophecy says that if he is ever found, he'll be able to kind of lead the way and bring the religion back. And so he basically disappeared, poof, wiped off the face of the earth, and he does not want to be found. And so our character needs to find him so he can lead her to kind of like the world of the dead, of where they believe her friend has been taken. Her friend has not been killed, but she's been taken by these kind of like death goddesses. And then we get Anya's perspective where she has been taken by death goddesses, and they basically want these like human pets that they can play with and kind of make as their servants. And so Anya's trying her best to survive in this area and figure out like how can she get out. And there's a bunch of other of those kidnapped girls who are also in that area being treated really badly. Anya ends up befriending this crow, and the crow seems to understand like what she's saying, and it kind of communicates in its own like unspoken way, and it has magic and stuff. So curious to see like what that's about, because I'm not familiar with any of like Finland's old culture or anything like that. So it's really cool to be able to learn these things. Obviously there's a lot of creative liberties that are taken when it comes to stories like this, but I think it's cool to even just kind of learn a little bit about it and then like do my own research later. But I'm really enjoying the story and the setting. It's really cool. So yeah, I'm gonna continue to read North is the Night, and I will update you probably around the halfway mark. So I will see you then. So I'm now definitely more than halfway through North is the Night, and I really am enjoying this book. I think I'm enjoying Anya's story the most. Siiri's story, at first I was like, not really into it, but now with like the shaman kind of stuff, I really do like that and kind of like the direction that's going. And I'm learning so much about like that kind of belief and all of that, which I thought was pretty cool. And then like with the bear, Cal, and all this, I like their little adventure together. I think the only thing like with Siiri's story that I felt is missing with kind of her journey is that she's always like on her own. She doesn't really have anybody to talk to or like bicker with. Like at one point there's a bear there, but bears don't really communicate back to you. So that's something that I felt was missing, that I really would have preferred if she had like another companion with her while she's searching for this like shaman guy. But it's still an interesting story, and it's cool to see like how the magic and the folklore and all that is in the story. And then for Anya's story, I like hers the most because she's trapped in this like very tough realm with all of these people who are just like kind of chaotic, and they're torturing her and they're torturing all of these other girls who have been taken. And like the whole reasoning about like why they had taken these girls, I thought was interesting, as well as like the scene with her and the person in the tree. I really like that scene. I'm excited to see like where the rest of that is going to go now that we're kind of in the next kind of plot point. And I'm curious about like what's going to happen, especially with this like soul bond and stuff that's happening, because it's like Anya is growing as a character, but is she growing for the better or for the worse? And like Siiri's trying to find her, and Siiri is like, I'm like 100% confident that Siiri's in love with Anya, but I don't know if Anya's in love with Siiri or not. And yeah, so I feel like it's gonna be really interesting. I imagine that Siiri will be able to get into that kind of like realm of the dead. And so I'm curious to see like what she's going to think about everything that has happened and how Anya's life has changed. I also really like the setting. It's perfect for the weather outside right now. It's like snowing up a storm. We had a whiteout yesterday, and so cozy up with this book during the whiteout was honestly like phenomenal. It's such a vibe for the winter time, and you really just get like immersed into it. This is completely up to like your own belief system, but do keep in mind that the Christians are the bad guys in this book. They're trying to rid the world of these gods because they see them as false idols. So if that's something you're not really comfortable reading, definitely like keep that in mind. But if that doesn't bother you, yeah, so far so good. So I'm going to continue to read North is the Night, and I will update you when I finish this book. So I will see you then with my final thoughts. Last night I finished North is the Night, and honestly this book was a lot better than I expected it to be, which was really cool because I think I was trying really hard not to get my hopes up because of just how beautiful, just honestly this book is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my entire life. I'm so happy to have eyeballs that I'm able to just like feast on this book every single time I look at it. It's a little bit weird, but yeah, it was just really like, okay, I can't let this cover, you know, like don't judge a book by its cover. I'm like, okay, I can't let it trick me because I know it's beautiful. I've fallen for this before, but this book is actually good and beautiful. I really liked that both of our characters, Siiri and Aina, had their own character development growth journeys that they went on. And honestly, Anya's story was my favorite, and following that along, I would say the only small kind of disappointments that I had with this book was what I already mentioned about Siiri's story. I wish that she had a companion or somebody with her that she could kind of like talk to back and forth instead of just her talking to herself. I think her journey would have been more interesting up until the point where she's like looking for people. But the other thing that I didn't really like as much is I thought this book was going to be spicy, and this is like a very minor thing, but I just really expected it to be spicy for whatever reason. But this was like so tame. I was honestly disappointed. I was like, you're building all this like great romance up. You have like all this tension and like all this, and I'm like, ooh, yummy. And then not really that much. It was like YA comparison, and I was frankly disappointed in that. But aside from those two smaller things, I really enjoyed the way that the folklore and the stories were weaved into the story. I'm not familiar with Finnish paganism or Finnish shamanism, so it was really cool to be able to learn about that in like this creative way that the author has presented it. So yeah, I'm actually really surprised that I haven't seen much about this book anywhere. I know that it says that this edition at least was printed in 2025, January, which it is right now, so maybe it just hasn't been picked up. I don't know. I thought that it's a very cool book. I feel like that it's just like absolutely beautiful as well, and I really enjoyed the story between the two characters. And there's gonna be another book. It said so at the end, which is good because there was some really great setup. And I was wondering, because like I knew that there was supposed to be another book because it said this is a duet, which let me know in the comments. Are people calling it duets now instead of duologies? Because I'm seeing duet a lot now. But yeah, I was like, oh, well, like how is the story going to be? How is there going to be room for a second book? But no, it set it up very cleverly, and it had been hinted at throughout the entire story, and I didn't really realize it until we got towards the end. So yeah, I thought that was cool. It had prophecies, it had magic, and I just really liked that we had two strong female characters who would definitely love each other. So today we are going to be awarding North is the Night a total of 4 stars. A lot higher rating than I expected to give it when I first picked up the book. I was honestly anticipating maybe like a 3-star, but then I started to read it, and there's something about the writing that really just pulled me in. And I wouldn't say it's like the most beautiful writing or the most kind of, or like writing that you can feel all of the different senses, but there's something special about it that just makes it really easy to read and follow and want to know what happened to the characters next. And perhaps it's that the majority of the chapters ended on kind of kind of like cliffhangers, and so you're like, oh no, what's gonna happen with this character? Then it switches to the other character, and then you read it, and that character ends at a cliffhanger, then you read the next one, and the other character ends at a cliffhanger. So there's definitely something really cool about this. I believe that this is the author's first kind of romantasy story. When I checked her out before, it said that she did some hockey romances and stuff, so really excited to see more about the fantasy stories that she writes, because she definitely has, I mean, I don't really know because I'm not the most versed in this, but she seems to have a really good in-depth understanding of the Finnish culture and their gods and goddesses and stuff. So I thought that was really cool to be able to see in a book. So the next book that I'm going to be reading is Yumi and the Nightmare Painter by Brandon Sanderson. People have been telling me to read this book for a while, and it is finally time, so I'm very excited to read this book next. So if you're interested in watching me read Yumi and the Nightmare Painter, or any other book that happens to be on my never-ending TBR, definitely hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and turn on the bell notification. That way you get notified anytime a new video comes out. If you enjoyed this video, definitely hit the like button, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!